Friends, hello the world. Welcome back to this live Transitioning Humanitarians. And today I'm doing it without Vicky, and she will join us next week. So, in the meantime, happy holidays to you all. I hope that you have um, celebrated the first part if you're celebrating Christmas. If you're not celebrating and instead going for the new year, I'm so excited. Even though I have not much to plan, but I just feel like it's one of the best, I don't know, periods, and one of the best holidays that I love celebrating and dancing a lot. So that's what I'm looking for. And today I thought that to finish up 2023, which has been an amazing year in so many ways, and I have been sharing my gratitude with you all. So thank you for being part of that, supporting me in that, and just yeah, being happy with me. So as part of this, I wanted to share today about connecting to what we do, connecting to the impact we create, and connecting to the people that we serve, and how can we really do that, right? So as we started the December with connection, I really wanted to finish off with how can we create those genuine, authentic connections to what we do instead of feeling like we just need to justify why we're here, why we're doing what we're doing, or we feel like we keep saying to our family and friends or whoever that we encounter that everything is great, but feeling like very shitty inside. All of these feelings, you all, I know, and I have gone through this, so that's why I'm talking from experience as well. So today I want to talk to you about how we can actually create or restore connections to what we do and why we do things. And I thought of 7 ways that we are like damaging our own connection to what we're doing and how we're doing. 7 different ways, and I have tried to categorize them a bit so that it's relatable to you or it's like easier for you to grasp. And I will go through all of them, but of course, all of them come after us really being decided on whether we want to stay and do the work that we want to or not, right? If we feel like we don't really want to do the work because we don't really believe in the cause and overall, then obviously all the rest of the conversation don't even need to take place because you know the answer why you're not connected, right? So you can see that if we are really in this place of I don't think it will ever change. I don't really want to be doing this. I am tired of doing this, and I just have to do it because of other reasons. Then you really need to decide whether you want to be in that resistance the whole time, or you still decide to restore some of the ways as to why you still care about the cause, maybe some of the cause of why you still care about what you do. So you still need to find a way to connect to what you're doing, basically. Because if we don't connect to what we're doing and why we're doing it, then it's so tiring. It's so exhausting. It's so draining. It's just like, feels like so much work, right? To even get up and do the thing. And we can maybe do that for some time, but keep forcing ourselves to do that for a long time is just going against ourselves as if we're keep battling, and that's the battle that we don't need to have. And therefore, making a decision about whether we're staying or not staying, and if we're staying, then this is what we're going to do to make good use of our time there. And if we're not staying, then let's figure out what to do next, right? So that's also something that I am inviting you to my retreat in Kyrgyzstan this coming April, to be discussing exactly those topics and being very honest and genuine with yourself and compassionate with yourself to be answering them, making decisions. And then I want to accompany you to go through that process, whatever that is, whatever your decision is, or whether you want to stay or leave, right? So here in this episode, I really want to focus on these 7 ways that we keep um, like ruining or damaging or slightly deteriorating our own situation or our own connection to what we do and why we do things, right? And I will go in details so that you can really see and recognize where you might be doing that, and then how you can actually stop doing that thing, and then decide what to do about it. So the first thing that I notice in many humanitarians, when they say that they want to connect to what they're doing, they want to connect to the people that they're serving or to the cause, right? When they think about those terms or even the impact, one of the things that I notice is that they often come from all or nothing thinking of we have to be able to cover all the people, or we have to be able to serve all the people, and if we're not, then we're not doing a good job. And when we are in that mindset, what we often unfortunately do is we then negate the parts of the work that we have already been doing, or we even dismiss all the things that we have achieved, even if in small areas of work, right? But we don't really pay attention to those because we feel like that's not enough. That's not enough to qualify as a good work, or as like this is not the impact that we're creating, even though maybe we're creating impact on those smaller areas or on those specific areas, right? But because our belief is that we need to be covering all, whatever that all means, then therefore we tend to then negate all the rest of the things that we're working, right? So then it becomes so difficult for us to connect to all the goodness that we're already doing, because we are here trying to find ways to be covering all, whatever that is. So that's one of the ways that I see that we are um, destroying our connection to what we do or the impact that we're doing, and we don't really enjoy it, right? So the best way to do in that moment would be to really get clear with ourselves as to what is the exact part that we can actually realistically do, whether as an organization or as a human being or as a humanitarian, and then how can we do that part best and actually also enjoy having created the impact of doing that work, and then also taking credit for that work, right? So therefore being clear on which part of the population or which part of the niche or which part of the work that we want to be doing as humanitarians, which what's exactly the impact that we're trying to create, and how we can create it, instead of like keep focusing on all the things that we're not able to do. The second one is the numbers, and this has been my issue as well. Is when I really wanted to connect to what I do and why I do it, I often get myself into this spiral of we're not covering enough people of the numbers, right? So the numbers are not massive. That was my like thinking, is that the amount or the number of people that we are able to assist in this situation are not massive, and because it's not massive, then we're not really doing a good job, and it would just open up lots of ways to criticize my work, or maybe the organization, and therefore I would lose that connection to all the people that we're actually helping, right? All the people that we're actually doing a lot of amazing work, and that would be again getting dismissed. Just like in the first part of all or nothing thinking, and here it's more like with numbers. We just feel like sometimes maybe the numbers need to be massive, or numbers need to be in a particular way, and if we don't see the numbers, then we're likely to not be satisfied with the rest of what we have done. The third one is, I think, we stop connecting to what we do and how we do is because we're so judging, and sometimes rightly so, right? Judging like how we spend so much attention to the donors, how much attention we spend to auditors, basically those people who are uh, who are checking up on us. We spend so much time on them where we feel like we should be spending more time on serving people or on being on the field with people or spending our precious time on other resources to be getting the aid they need, right? And absolutely, I totally hear and feel you, but also we need to notice that when we are so much focused on how we don't want to be doing that work. We don't want to be entertaining donors or entertaining auditors, and we want to be doing the field work. Actually, the reason why we're entertaining donors and auditors is so that we can serve people in the sustainable manner or serve people with more assistance, right? That's the whole purpose of doing it. But I can see and feel many humanitarians who just say, well, if we had paid attention equally to the people who are suffering, as much we're paying attention to the donors or the auditors, then we would do a lot more work. I can see that and I can feel that. That this used to be also my reasoning, but then also noticing that, so one of the ways that we can solve for it is that it seems like it's becoming an inevitable part of our work. And what are we going to do with it, right? Are we going to keep fighting against it? Or we're going to find ways to understand why we need to be doing it so that we can then serve the actual cause or actual purpose, which is helping those people who are suffering, right? So therefore, you can see that our brains, rightly so, bring up a lot of like judgment, criticism, constructive criticism a lot of the times. But we also know that there might be no way to change that situation, right? It may not be possible to change, at least with one person's attempt or several persons' attempt. So unless we're changing in systemic ways of how to reduce the time that we spend on donors, to reduce the time we spend on auditors, and instead spend more time on serving the people, unless we have that systemic way of solving it, then I don't see how those frustrations will help us connect to doing the work that we want. Because what ends up happening often is that we get so frustrated by these things that then actually we don't have time for or energy for serving the people that we want to, right? So you can see how we need to be staying away from certain judgments sometimes so that we can save the energy to be um, serving the people we want to serve. The fourth one is failure of the organization, right? And that's heavy one. And honestly, I have been thinking about that. It's so difficult to restore connection to what we do and why we do things, especially when we see the organizations or certain ideals, certain uh, rule of law, certain principles, especially the uh, the rules of the war, right? When they are not respected, when they are not implemented, when they are just ignored, when they are ignored for political reasons. And we see that as failure of the organization, as a failure of international community, or as a failure of humanity when we see those type of heavy um, ways of us saying how we have failed as humanity, and then going and doing the work as a humanitarian becomes almost like impossible to do, especially if we have family members who are affected by the war, if we are ourselves affected by the war, right? Or if we have colleagues who are affected by the war, then finding that connection to what we're doing, or even like explaining to ourselves why we're doing it, becomes so difficult. And I have been coaching several of my clients recently, especially coming from Palestine. And I have been also coaching other people who have been affected directly by wars. And and constant reminder in their mind of all of this has been a failure, all the things that we have done are failures, so then why are we even doing that, right? Sorry. And if we're in that place, maybe some of the useful, compassionate way would be just allowing ourselves to process those emotions without doing anything, without trying to connect to what we're doing and why we're doing it. Just recognizing, and accepting that this is the truth that we're experiencing currently. This is all the emotions that we're experiencing are our truth, and recognizing and being with them and standing by them might be just the most useful thing we can do without trying to go to anywhere, without trying to connect to what we're doing and why we're doing it, even though in some cases maybe we're able to explain or like convince ourselves that that's even more reason that we need to be doing more or doing certain things differently so that we can no longer allow these failures to happen, right? But I know that for many of us it's very difficult to overcome that disappointment, and therefore the easiest, or not easiest I should say, but the more compassionate way to treat ourselves in that moment is to recognize our truths in that moment. And the more we recognize and the more we honor what's going on and not dismiss it, not ignore it, or not like saying I shouldn't be feeling this or I have to now force myself to do other things, may not work, and it may actually make it worse, right? So therefore the one thing maybe we should avoid in that moment is to keep creating those or keep creating those emotions over and over again, but rather staying with the ones that we have already. Because the way that we keep creating the same emotions is we keep um, thinking about how it's unfair, how it's a failure over and over again. And the more we keep thinking about it, the more we keep generating emotions, and we may not be able to process all of them. So, therefore, like allowing your brain to focus or pause and say, this is what, let me process through these ones, and then I will go to the next something else, right? The fifth one is about other colleagues, right? So we tend to make our, like, we tend to lose our connection to what we're doing or why we're doing it, why it's important, because of other colleagues, especially when we don't have good relationship with other colleagues, or when we feel like they're not really accepting us, or they're not really like making us feel like part of the team, or whatever it is. In those moments we feel like we're losing connection to what we're doing, we're losing connection to how we want to um, do the work, or how we want to make the impact, because we feel like we're already battling with how to belong, how to be part of the team, and then we may not really have time for doing the actual work, or not really doing in the way that we would have done if we felt like we were part of the team, right? And in those moments, it's difficult to also keep having that connection to what we're doing. And I have been working with one client on this specifically, and what we're trying is, what if we defined how we want to belong to whatever we are? And we can belong with certain people, we can belong with teams of people. We may even feel like we don't belong at all. In those moments, how do we want to otherwise create the feeling of belonging? Maybe we can find the feeling of belonging with working on the cause, right? Maybe we can find the feeling of belonging because we have several colleagues who have the same vision or the same commitment. So we want to just stay belonging with those specific people and then not really think about the rest. Whatever the way that works for you, that help you create this feeling of, um, I want to keep working on this cause no matter what, right? Or it's not really about those colleagues, or it's not really about me, but it's more about how I can be of best service to those people or to several of those people. And that's what I'm going to focus on. That could be another way that we continue having our connection to what we're doing and the cause, even though we have maybe issues with several colleagues or one particular colleague. And therefore, let's not define our connection to our work or the cause or the impact because of that colleague, right? Because oftentimes our brain wants to do is, oh, this person, or especially like when it comes to maybe higher management or a boss who is not really committed, maybe, or who is even committed but not really doing the work, or whatever the judgments that we may have, and we let that influence how we then be committed to our own work, right? So let's not allow those type of um, behaviors influence our commitment to our work, because no matter what the others are doing or not doing, they probably have their own reasons, but we have our own reason why we want to be connected to what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? So if we want to continue that connection to what we're doing, then it's so important that we safeguard that. It's so important that we protect that connection, so that we continue feeling energized, we continue feeling uh, like with heart and soul to be doing the work that we love doing. The other one is, okay, yeah. The sixth one that I want to talk about is how we try to like keep seeing this is not right, or this is unfair, this is not how it should be. There are lots of different ways that we can be resistant about. There are lots of ways we can be battling things um, we don't like, and therefore because of those things, like maybe there are little things and maybe there are big things, and because of those criticism here, judgment here, and all of these unfair feelings, they just overwhelm us. Then we lose our connection to what we're doing, right? And you probably know this as well as that. Those colleagues are not acting ethically, or these colleagues are not doing their job, or maybe you are saying that this is not how it should be. We shouldn't be very um, we shouldn't be just discussing things a lot of the times, which I absolutely agree. But at the same time, we notice that when we have these type of like little small, little by bits and bits of these criticism and judgment, they continue affecting us to a point that we then lose our connection to what we're doing and why we're doing things, right? So we slowly erode, so to say, our belief in what we're doing and why we're doing it, and then we just don't want to. Um, we don't feel like we want to be doing it, right? So therefore, how can we protect ourselves again from those eroding type of frustrations and criticism that we know are like useful, and we everyone seems to agree that shouldn't be happening, but it still keeps happening, and how we can not let that affect the way that we create our impact, or the way that we connect to our work and the cause. And the seven ones, let me see. Yes, the seventh way that I see that many humanitarians are trying to restore their connection to what they're doing and why they're doing it, and but they have difficulty separating where their responsibility ends, where other people's responsibilities start. And I think in some ways it's very noble for all of us to take responsibility and say, as humanity, we have failed in this conflict or in this war. As humanitarians, we have failed, or whatever the things that we say, and we tend to like take responsibility in those general terms. But then the effect of that is that the way that this makes us feel is that then what's really the point of continue doing it, right? Or what's the point of me trying to do this work or to try to keep fighting for this thing when I know that in the end um, it won't make a difference. I think this is how we tend to then get so demotivated, right? And it's very human thing, human reaction. I can totally relate to that. But if we then just give up on that, right, then we know that we're going to make things like we're not helping the situation any better. If we are just demotivated and don't want to do anything, we're not helping the situation any better. Because in the end, we care about those people that we're serving, right? We want to do something. We want to do something good, and that's also the reason why we're taking responsibility as humanity. We're taking responsibility as humanitarian. That's very um, noble. Is the only word that keeps coming up currently. But at the same time, how can we not let that affect our motivation level? How can we not affect our commitment level? How can we not become this cynical, skeptic person who just then says, oh, there's no point anyway. I'm just going to keep doing it, but I know that it's not going to make a difference. Then it will all like create our experience of how we experience our work, how we experience our impact. Then we will not be able to find joy in what we're doing and how we're doing it, right? So therefore, you can see that I have given you at least 7 different ways how we might need to protect our motivation level. We might need to protect our commitment level and our belief in the cause if we want to keep doing that long term, right? If we want to keep doing this work long term, then in addition to deciding on whether to stay or not, and let's say we have decided to stay, then let's at least restore some of the reasons why we want to do this work. Connect to the impact that we want to create, being more clear as to what impact we're wanting to create. And if our brain says, well, it's not really the impact I want, get curious as to what is the impact that you thought you would be creating and why that expectation, right? Because oftentimes I see that the connections are lost with what we do is because of our expectation and how we were not able to meet that expectation, and therefore we get so disappointed and frustrated because we are, as humanitarians, are very demanding. And that's one thing that I love about us. We want to do things well. We want to do things well for so many people. We have very big hearts. We are idealistic in so many ways, which I love as well. And therefore, but we want to keep doing the work, right? We want to keep making our impact. We want to keep making the goodness in the world. We want to keep fighting for the things, even though maybe there are so many obstacles that we can't even imagine how we would solve it, but we still want to keep fighting for things. And if we want to do that, then our job becomes also to continue connecting to all what we do, despite all the um, reasons why we could be just frustrated and disappointed and demotivated and give up. And I don't want us to do that. And I want us to continue wanting to create that world that we want to be living in, right? Where there is at least less suffering. And even if other people see us as, oh, that's just unrealistic and idealistic and it won't happen, but we want to continue contributing to that anyway, right? We want to keep contributing and creating that impact, and I want to support you in that. And here are some of the ways that we can protect that commitment, we can protect that determination, we can restore and actually increase our resilience, our strengths to be doing this work. So, my dears, I want to wish you a very happy new year. The new year that will bring you a lot more connection to what you do, a lot more connection to the people around you, a lot more connection to the people that you're serving, and a lot more groundedness, a lot more inner peace, and of course, a lot more freedom. Have a beautiful celebration if you're celebrating. If you're not celebrating, continue working. All I want to say, amazing commitment. I applaud you, and Vicky and I will see you in 2024 with new topics to come on transitioning humanitarians. Thank you so much for allowing us to be part of this journey. And if you have any questions, of course, or coaching, let us know. Happy New Year, you all. See you